Our how is everything. How you do something matters. Culture, how, next time mentality. That better be first.
The PJ Fleck Show starts now.
Welcome into another installment of the PJ Fleck Show. I'm Ahmad Hicks alongside Justin Gaard, Ron Johnson, and none other than the man himself, PJ Fleck. So I had a rundown built, but I'm going to deviate from that real fast. Mo Ibrahim, your former running back, just signed with the Minnesota Vikings. I need your thoughts on that first.
Oh, couldn't be more excited for Mo. I know he's been really working hard in the offseason, coming back for his hip injury. He's healthy. He's been at our facility a bunch during training camp, which has always been good to get around him. And Chuck Filion got signed as well. So good to have those two Gophers with the Vikings today.
Does it make it even more special for you as a coach when your guy is signed to the hometown NFL team?
Well, absolutely. I think there's a special place in your heart for the hometown, especially us being right across the river from them. And not only that, knowing them so well. And I know what kind of offense they want to be able to run. And Muhammad's such a hard-nosed runner, and hopefully they make a really good connection, and he can make it.
All right, that's PJ Fleck's thoughts on his former running back, Ahmad Ibrahim, who just signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Now we're going to get to the 2024 State Fair. Coach, you had a couple players take our place, get a microphone, go taste test some food. Ja Joyner, Danny Strigow, and Darnell Jeffries. We have some video here of them walking around.
Yeah, let me see this.
What do you tell your guys before they get here? Do you have to tell them, hey, watch your calorie intake, don't eat too much?
No. Actually, we don't have any regulations. They get so much money, and then I promise nobody comes back with leftover money. But this is a wonderful day for them. Minnesota State Fair is always one of our favorite events. We have 38 new players, and a lot of those guys never even been to a state fair. Max Brosmer, our quarterback, has never been to a state fair, ever. In his upbringing, let alone been the Minnesota State Fair. So we're starting and setting the bar really high. But as you can see, these guys are not shy about eating.
Yeah.
And we don't want them to be. This is the Big Ten.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be big.
Gain some weight, huh?
Yeah.
And I understand, Max, but I had never been to a state fair either until I came to college here, so I get it. This is ridiculous, the number of people here. I mean, it's the craziest thing I've heard of. And being here about it, but talking about Max Brosmer, you have a quarterback now. Tanner Morgan had been here for years, moves on to Ethan Calicman, and now Max Brosmer. What has it been like having him in the building? I mean, he's closer to your age probably to some of the high school kids he's recruiting. So how is that?
Well, it's a really unique recruiting process because what we were looking for was an immediate impact starter, a person that would come in and be able to run the team from day one. And really, there wasn't a ton of competition around him. Drake Lindsey, number 3, is a true freshman quarterback. He's really, really talented. We brought in Dylan from Virginia Tech, really talented. But we needed somebody right off the bat to be the guy to capture the entire team. And he was able to do that, and he was mature enough to handle that responsibility. So recruiting him was a very different recruiting style than bringing somebody in to say, hey, you're coming in to compete. We've got a bunch of other guys. It was really, he had to accept and handle and be mature enough to have the keys to the kingdom right away. And he has exceeded all of our expectations. He's an unbelievable leader. He's very curious, very, very smart, and I'm glad he's our quarterback.
Much to Ron's chagrin, Minnesota has always been a program that loves to run the ball and has always run the ball really well. The pair and a spare is something we've talked about forever. Last year, you really had to test that depth here the last couple of years. 38 new players, a couple of them are running backs. Tell us a little bit about the depth behind Darius Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing that I think we got in trouble last year was we didn't have a lot of depth. For one of the first times, we didn't have a lot of depth at running back. We weren't deep at a lot of positions, played a lot of young players, had some guys get hurt early, and we had to reach into that depth really quickly. This year, I feel like we're one of the deepest football teams we've ever had. Darius, I think it's well documented what he was able to do. We brought in a kid by the name of Marcus Majors from the University of Oklahoma, who has been unbelievable in terms of workload, work ethic. You'd think he's been here 10 years already, and he's only got 1 year left. You got him, and then we brought, JoJo Newman had a really good year.
Yep.
Brought in C.A. Bangura. We brought in Jaron Magnum from Michigan State. We've got some young players like Femi Ijuboy. We've got some really 6 guys that can really play the position. And not only that, they can catch the ball out of the backfield, be really good receivers. So hopefully we're able to expand what we're able to do. That's the whole plan. And obviously we'll listen to our players of what they show they can and cannot do as the season starts.
Coach, you talk a lot about offense, and we all know offense fills the stands, but defense wins championships. How do you even start to replace a guy like Tyler Nubin and his magnitude in that defensive secondary room?
Yeah, I think everybody's looking for, all right, who's that next guy? I think we have so many guys in the secondary that are going to play football for us, whether it's rotation at nickel or rotation at free safety, whether it's a rotation at corner. Same thing with the D-line. I mean, we have so many players on defense that have earned the right to play and have earned the right to be starters. I think that's what's really exciting about this football team. Of course, there's the Cody Lindenbergs, there's the Ja Joyners, there's the Danny Strigals. I think everybody knows that. But this is one of the deepest teams we've had on defense, and we have so much versatility. So even in the secondary, there's so many different packages that we can create that can match up with offenses and not let offenses get a beat of what we're doing.
What does it mean to bring in a 4-star recruit like Coy Parrish, keep him in state, and how big is that just for your recruitment landscape?
It's tremendous. I mean, you know, everybody talks about what you can't do these days and the NIL and the transfer portal and what we're not capable of doing. This was the best recruiting class we've ever had at the University of Minnesota since we've been here in our time. And it wasn't because we were the highest bidder. That had nothing to do with it. In fact, we weren't the bidders. We had to do it based on relationships. Selecting and fit is way more important than it used to be. Even more important, where you have to be able to put your arms around the value systems of families more than ever. Because if money's what they're valuing, the first chance they make more, they'll go for that. Money's important. We all know that. But if it's one of the first things that you value, you're always going to be chasing that. We want them to value other things, and money enhances those values eventually. And I think our guys have a great understanding of that. Coy Parrish is one of those guys that had a great understanding of that. He's a really talented athlete, a really talented player, and keeping him in state was critical for not only this year, but for years to come. As you can see, the top 2 players in the state of Minnesota for 26 are already committed to the Gophers. And we haven't had that since we've been here, which that's what we talked about with that culture sustainability.
Yeah, and I mean, Drake Lindsay, Parrish, both wear number 3, so I got to follow them. Those are my guys. But moving on, you know, talking about young guys coming in, we know Daniel Jackson's a guy. Chris Altman-Bell, he's finally gone after 11 seasons. When you look at Lemeki Brockington, you got Christian Driver, you got Williams, you got a lot of guys that can potentially be that 2, 3, 4 receiver. What is that depth looking like right now, and how are you challenging these guys? Because you're a former receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I love our wide receiver room right now. And again, it's like you said, there's Daniel Jackson, who's the big name that we have. And you talk about Tyler Johnson, and you're talking about Rashad Bateman, and you look at all those guys. Daniel's that guy. Under him, and there's a lot of guys like Elijah Spencer. I think he's had maybe as good of an offseason as anybody. Lemeki Brockington is a journeyman within our program who has done a lot of things for us. And then you get into, you know, Donald Driver's son, Christian Driver, who's a transfer from Penn State. He's been a pleasant surprise and kind of exceeded a lot of our expectations. And then you got a lot of guys who are in that redshirt freshman category, the new Ks, TJ McWilliams, the Kendrick Laniers. It's their time to really kind of bring some depth to that room, and eventually they'll be the guys that take over. But I feel good about where we are there, and then also the tight end position with Jamison Gears and Nick Calrup.
Off the top, you talked about wanting the lines to be big. It's the Big Ten, right? They're eating all their food. NIL money's completely gone today. But is this maybe the biggest and deepest that you've been, both offensive line and defensive line? It's some pretty big dudes up front.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about 1 through 9, yes. With experience, with length, with size, with strength, yes. I mean, the answer is yes. And we need to be able to play really well at those positions. When I look at those 2 positions, they're 2 of our best positions on the field. So the expectations within our program, we're very transparent about that, needs to match the reality once we hit game day. And our guys know that. Our coaches understand that. But we feel good about where we are there. And we feel good about what we can do package-wise with the depth that we have. So our guys, I know, are going to meet those expectations, and we look forward to watching them play Thursday night.
One guy who I know will benefit from having a good defensive line is linebacker Cody Lindenberg. Last season missed 9 games, still finished 10th on the team in total tackles. Just talk about how important he is to this team when healthy.
He's everything. I mean, he's the puppeteer on there on defense. I mean, he's making sure everybody gets where they're going to. He might be one of the most single-handedly important people on our roster because of the glue that he keeps everybody together with. And that's what he is. I mean, he is the defensive coordinator, head coach of the defense. He's so smart. He's so intelligent. He's played a lot of football for us. He's so athletic. He can play multiple positions, even from the linebacker position. And he's so versatile. So when we lost him last year, we lost a lot of the glue that kept our defense together. And this year we have more depth behind him, a lot more experience, but he's healthy. He looks great. He's had a great offseason, and we look forward to a great year from him.
Yeah, the NFL had Deflategate. College football had sign stealing. So now they moved on to a new technology that it's been around forever, but college football finally adopted the green dot. I knew 6 months ago, but, I mean, you know the truth. I didn't know.
He's like, what's the green dots on your helmets for? I'm like, really?
I had no idea. But when you talk about, I talked to Max Brosmer, and he said, you know what, he loves it. Him and Coach Harbaugh are able to communicate quickly. He get the plays, and he still has a wristband. But what has that been like watching the quarterback now being able to get plays quicker?
Well, one, I think it's, every one of our players dream of playing in the NFL. The more we can make the college game more like the NFL, we have a 2-minute warning now. We have tablets on the side. We have the green dot. I think for the NFL to help evaluate some of that, I think is important. But two, I think it's really good for the communication between the coordinator and the quarterback. Everybody's going to be able to use it differently. We have to make sure there's only one green dot on the field at the time. We rotate a lot of players, maybe some more than the NFL does. So we got to keep awareness on that. But I think it's been really good for us. I mean, teams that go really fast, I'm still sure they're going to signal to a lot of the other guys, talk to the quarterback. It is unique. It shuts off at 15 seconds. We met with the Vikings earlier in the offseason just about what are the pitfalls from it, what are the challenges, what do you have to be ready for? And if you saw the Vikings' first preseason game, Sam Darnold goes out there, he's ready to go, and bang, first series, he can't even hear. So it's interesting to see even at the NFL level that it doesn't necessarily always work the way you want it to, but you got to be ready for it.
What have you observed about the relationship with Max Brosmer and Greg Harbaugh? Is a pretty important one, right? The offensive coordinator and the quarterback, they're going to be talking quite a bit, headset or no. What's their relationship like?
They're probably more meshed than any coordinator quarterback I've ever had. And, I mean, Max is, taking classes that are non-degree seeking. I think that's how they say that. But he is there all the time on his own doing so much unrequired work. And whenever you see Greg, you see Max. Whenever you see Max, you see Greg, somehow, some way. And they're just meshed at the hip, especially in training camp. They're around each other all the time. And he's such a gym rat. He's one of the most curious leaders I've ever had and one of the most curious quarterbacks. And when you have a curious quarterback, they're always asking why. Right. They want to know why. And he does that with Greg Harbaugh. And they're both football junkies, so they're a match made in heaven.
Oh, look at that. You love to hear that. The offense should be high-powered this year is what we're hearing, PJ, basically.
Well, yeah, you do everything you can to make it high-powered every single year. It's not like our intention's not to.
Yeah.
We've had high-powered offenses, I think, and in some years we've struggled at certain things. But the players tell you what they're going to be able to do as the season unfolds. Injuries are a part of that. Depth's a part of that. I feel great where we are right now going into game one.
All right, now we're going to talk defense on the other side of the break. We have to burn one of our TV timeouts. Plus, we're going to talk about the North Carolina Tar Heels, seeing how it is game week for the Golden Gophers. Stick around. More PJ Fleck Show when we return.
You're watching the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show. So PJ was just giving us his rundown on how to stay alive at the State Fair. Basically, you don't eat a lot to begin. You just kind of nibble along the way. Yeah. So for those coming out here, take PJ Fleck's advice. Veteran. Small portions. It allows you to eat a lot more.
Yeah, they don't give you small portions, though. Like, you have to have
some kind of discipline.
I suggest multiple people in the group. Everybody sharing a little bit.
That's what our producer just said. Lori said we need to share.
Yeah. It's like a family style.
There you go.
Make it collaborative. So speaking of collaborations, Joe Rossi and you had a pretty good one for a long time, going all the way back to 2018 when he took over midstream. He's now at Michigan State. You have a new defensive coordinator, Corey Heatherman. What's it been like to develop a rapport and relationship with him, and also for the players as well?
It's been a pretty seamless transition because the system is the system, and we've had the same system for 12 years. Everybody's made it their own. We've adapted to it. We've changed it. We've modified it. And Corey's done the exact same thing. It's very similar. We didn't change the terminology, so our players could be able to transition pretty quickly. But I have a lot of respect for Greg Schiano and all of our coordinators who come out of that same tree. And Corey's no different, spending time over there with Schiano and Joe Harris-Simiak, who used to be with us. So I think it's been really good for us. There's a lot of similarities between him and Joe. And I think the players love playing for him. I mean, he's an all-ball, all-the-time type kind of guy, though. Yeah. All the time. I mean, he's a football junkie as well.
Ronnie, you are the only one up here with a beard. How would you evaluate Corey Heatherman's beard? As a fellow bearded man.
It's elite. You gotta keep the products in there, moisturized.
I think PJ could give you a run.
Here's the thing: whatever your wife likes, do it.
Okay, I heard that.
Who cares what everybody else thinks?
That's great marriage advice for everybody out there. Some guys just went, "What is he doing?"
Oh, my.
As I was going to color my beard, and my wife's like, no, I like the gray. So I'm like, all right, I'm keeping the gray.
Oh, Lord.
So when you
That's
think
my
about
fault. All of this is my fault.
It's
Go
all
ahead.
think about
good.
North Carolina's defense, they're older. We talked about that. They return a lot of veterans. But also when you look at, they have one sophomore right now, quote unquote, in their depth chart. Grad transfer, senior. How do you prepare when you know you're going into a veteran defense like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're going against a team like North Carolina, who's really good, really talented, really deep, and older, you've got to be elite at the details. I mean, you got to be fundamentally sound in game one. This isn't like a game that you're ironing out all the wrinkles. I mean, this is not that at all. This is the complete opposite. It's going to test how fundamentally sound you are, how good you are at the things that you do, and it's really going to expose what you're good at and what you're not good at very quickly. They've got almost everybody back, and everybody that they did lose, you can make an argument that they brought people in that are better. So we got our work cut out for us, that's for sure. They're well coached, really good football team, and should be a great night on Thursday night.
Sounds like Brosmer's going to have a test, but certainly for UNC, they're having to replace Drake May. What do you know about them offensively, and what are you expecting next Thursday night?
Yeah, they brought in some quarterbacks that can really play, though. Brad Johnson's son, Max Johnson, former quarterback of the Vikings. He's a big lefty who can throw it around. They've got another quarterback who can really get it done with his feet and his arm. I mean, he's incredibly dynamic. So they haven't named a starter. We're going to prepare for both. But they've got a lot of experience at that position, maybe not just at North Carolina, but other places. And guys been able to wait their turn, and now their time to shine. So we got to work it out for us, that's for sure.
It's going to be a fun day, and I'm sure a lot of Gophers fans are anticipating that opening kickoff. Now we have to burn another TV timeout, but when we return, we're talking about new uniforms and PJ Fleck's final thoughts on the Minnesota State Fair. Stick around, more PJ Fleck Show when we return.
Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show.
All right, welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show. I'm Ahmad Hicks, Justin Gaard, Ron Johnson, and the man himself, PJ Fleck. So, PJ, we're a little too big to throw on these jerseys, but these are your new jerseys that you guys have for this season.
Yeah.
What do you think about the small details that you guys have, and what's your favorite detail on this jersey?
Well, I think it's the state of Minnesota right on the back. Yeah. Also, the stripes on the sleeve. I know when Nike approached us about new uniforms, we wanted to be able to bring back and connect not only now but our past. And, it's interesting to listen to our fans of what they want and what they're looking for and what they put out on social media. I mean, everybody wants those M's on the shoulders. Yeah. I don't know if I can get to that point.
The Chris Darkins era?
Yeah, this is where I think it just connects our past, present, and into the future. I think they're really sleek. I think they look really good, and they're brand new. I did have a fan come up to me in the K-Fan booth, though, and talk to me about why we have black uniforms and we're maroon and gold.
They're still going.
She was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
So I
Really?
said, have you seen the new uniforms? And she said no. So I was like, all right, well, we need to do a little bit of our homework.
How exciting are the players? Because I know, for me, I see the releases, I see the excitement. But how often do the players try to tell you, like, hey, coach, this is the color scheme we want this week?
Well, the great thing is as players have had more money, power, whatever you want to call it, it's been great because we've had a leadership council for a lot of years anyway. You can call it our own player union for the last 8 years. And I let our players make a lot of the decisions that we have for our football team, especially the jersey colors. They get to pick out the combinations. I'm not passing the buck about what they get, but they get to pick out what we do and what we wear because I think they're the ones that have to wear them.
Yep.
When you look good, play good, all those sayings that people have, they get to be able to pick the combinations.
Stop tweeting PJ when the uniforms change.
Listen, I take it. Listen, we're the ones that pay for it, right? So, but I think it's really important that the players have the decision to be able to make those.
How jealous are you? Just in
I would have swagged out the all gold.
Yeah.
I'd have had the gold tape, everything. Oh, yeah.
So basically, Ron said he needs you to
gloves.
send him a jersey so he can wear it.
He does that every year. Yeah,
Every year.
How many jerseys have you gotten?
0.
Yeah.
Year 8. We're working on it. I did get some T-shirt and shorts, though, so I appreciate that.
Oh, good. PJ, I want to ask you a question. I want to shift back to football a little bit. When you look at expectations, I know you're not one to look at the outside noise, but the world is saying that you guys are only 4 to 5 wins this year. How do you use that as motivation for your guys, or do you use it as motivation at all?
We're not into using external to motivate our players, but we did have one meeting where I said, listen, I'm not one to sit there and say we coulda, woulda, shoulda. If we would have done this, it would have been differently. But we lost 2 games in the last second last year, right? And again, those are heartbreaking losses. We have 16 of 17 eligible returning starters back. And if you happen to pull those 2 wins out, and I've never wanted to do that, maybe you finish 7-6 or 8-5, something like that. And I think the narrative would have been completely different because of the record, because that's what external looks at. Internally, we feel like we're a really good football team. We have a lot of depth. We keep the outside noise as noise. I'm really proud of our team for doing that, and they believe in each other. They have committed so hard to one another in the offseason, and I get to see that every day. The outside people who make those predictions don't get a chance to see the heart, the soul, and the spirit of your team and really what they're made of. That's what we get to see, and I love our football team. I'm really confident in them and look forward to the season.
As a guy who grew up in the heart of Big Ten country, Illinois, what will it be like for you this year to play conference games in Piscataway, New Jersey, and Los Angeles, California?
Listen, it'll be unique. But I've played all over the country. We've played all over the country. I think it's so healthy and so great for the Big Ten that we're coast to coast. Once you're on the plane, you're on the plane. But I do think it's the greatest conference because of where it expands from coast to coast. It's very unique. It's going to be very unique for our student athletes, but also very exciting at the same time. And I know everybody has circled that Rose Bowl game of a lot of our there's 25,000 Gopher fans already, I think, going there or something like that. I think that gives our fan base the ability to go to certain places that maybe they haven't been since the 60s.
Coach, we got 30 seconds left. Ryan, you got one quick question?
No, I was just saying, we got the fair. You're out here. You're excited about it. What are you looking forward to with the rest of your day at the fair?
I think I have a bunch of interviews left, but I love to eat. I do love to eat, so I've already had the fried olives. I've already had Sweet Martha's cookies. I got a gyro waiting for me. I got a steak sandwich, and I got some cheese curds. Remember, moderation. And I got a lemonade.
Garrett's over there with like the whole table of food.
My God.
That's right. I've got a great staff who helps me out a lot, and they get the benefit too.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. The next time we'll see you on the center stage, that's next Thursday for the big game.
Can't wait. See everybody there. Roll the boat, Scotty Mago, Gophers.
That's PJ Fleck, Ron Johnson, Justin Gaard. I'm Ahmad Hicks. Thank you all for watching another installment of the PJ Fleck Show. We'll let Coach get out of here so he can go eat in moderation, guys. Have a good day.